Hello, everyone. Welcome in today. Today, we're going to go through our top 5 linebackers in the 2025 NFL draft. I was going to do 10 initially, but to be honest with you, I've only watched 10 guys, and I don't really want to give you an opinion just on the 10 guys I watched. I need to watch more than that, and I need to get this video out. So we're going to do a top 5. We're going to start off at number 5. It's going to be Chris Paul Jr., the linebacker out of Ole Miss. I gave him a round 3 grade. He's 22 years old. He came in at 6'1", 222 pounds, which honestly is a little light in my opinion. But you didn't really expect him to be a huge guy. I didn't think he was going to be quite that light. He has shorter arms at 29 7/8, 9 3/8 inch hands. He ran a 4.63 40, which is fine. He ran a 1.62 10-yard split, 36-inch vertical, and a 9.9 broad jump. Let's go ahead and read the blurb on him. He looks to be an athletic linebacker who can go sideline to sideline, but at times he lacks awareness and can get himself out of position. He appears to be good in man coverage versus tight ends and halfbacks. I also think he's good in zone coverage, but at times his eye discipline can be off and he will leave his man and wander a little bit. He appears to have good ball skills for a linebacker, and he can get to the ball with his athleticism. I think versus the run, he shows a little pop in his hands coming downhill, but far too often stronger players would be able to move him out of his gap. I think overall he's a good tackler who at times can get a little high and end up allowing extra yards. I really enjoyed watching Chris Paul. Like I said, the weight's a big concern for me. I just don't love that. His testing was good. Like, don't get me wrong, 4.63 is fine. I kind of thought he was going to be a little faster. I'm not going to lie to you, but you try not to be. The combine's the combine. He's not going to be out there running a 40. He's going to be playing football, and he looked plenty athletic enough on tape. So I really like Chris Paul. I thought he was going to come in just a little bit higher on my list than this, but yeah, we ended up settling with him here at number 5. At number 4 is going to be linebacker Jeffrey Bossa out of Oregon. He is also a 3rd-round grade for me. He's 6'1", 232 pounds. At the combine, he had 31 3/8 inch for his arms, 9 1/4 inch hands. He ran a 4.63 and a 1.59 10-yard split. I like the 10-yard split on him. That's part of how he was able to get bumped over Chris Paul because they're tied in their grade. He had a 38.5 inch vertical, 9.10 broad jump, 7.343 cone, and 21 bench press reps. That's the thing with Bossa. Like, that's how he was able to get over Chris Paul. I just think he has a little bit more athleticism, which gives him a slightly higher ceiling, in my opinion, at next level. It was one of them things. I had very similar grades on them, so you go with the more athletic guy. At least that's my philosophy. Either way, let's read the blurb on him. He looks to be a good athlete at linebacker, but he looks a bit slow to react at times, like he'll false step or be delayed. I think that his eyes can cause him to be a bit slow to get him down to cover his gap versus the run. Now in coverage, he looks completely comfortable in both man and zone. To me, he looks better in zone than man, and versus man, he will get grabby at times when he feels like he might be beat, like out of a break. If he starts to see separation, I've seen him try to put his hands on him quite a bit. It also looks like he flips his hips a bit slow when players are going vertical on him, and that causes him to look like he has a hitch that'll get him beat sometimes. So I know that sounds a little bit more negative than I want it to be honest with you. And looking at it, they're side by side on my board. I'm surprised I had Bossa over Chris Paul. I'll admit, it's been a couple weeks since I watched the linebackers. Normally I watch them right before I shoot just to kind of give myself a reminder, but I was supposed to shoot this, like I said, a couple weeks ago and just have it in the pipeline ready to go, and stuff happened. I got sick and I kind of delayed it, so we're getting back to them now, and I haven't had time to rewatch. So just full disclosure there, like it has been 2, maybe 3 weeks since I watched these guys and ranked them. I think that honestly with Bossa, it's the athleticism. I really like that. Like, he looks really fast out there. So does Chris Paul, but then he also backed it up with better testing, and I just think that's what gave him the edge for now. Like I said, it's not over, and I try to watch like when there's ties and stuff like this before I release my top. I'm thinking I'm actually going to do a top 100 this year, but before I release my top 100, I'm going to try to rewatch a lot of these guys that are close, so that way, even if it's just a game, to give me an idea and a feel, and then I'll be able to adjust. I think it was just the overall athleticism. I thought Bossa had more of it on film, and that's how he was able to get to number 4. Coming in at number 3 on our list is going to be Demetrius Knight Jr. Now, he's a guy I was much lower on. I'm not gonna lie to you. My first game on him was like a late 4, like middle to late 4 round grade, because I just thought he was kind of developmental, and at 25 years old, which is a big thing with him, I was like, this doesn't make sense. Like, he's a developmental prospect, so I gave him a late 4, nearly a round 5 grade. But I ended up watching 3 more games or 4 more games of his, and because everybody loved him, and I was like, I don't know, man. And I tell you what, as I kept watching, I fell in love more. He's an older prospect, but he's a really, really good linebacker prospect, and he has the size you're looking for. He's 6'2", 235 pounds. I do believe he normally played heavier than that. Looking at his arm length, 32 and 5/8, 10-inch hands, but he ran a 4.58 40, which is incredible. A 1.58 10-yard split, 31.5-inch vertical, 9.10 broad jump, 7.2 3-cone, 4.25 20-yard shuttle, and he had 22 bench press reps. And the thing is, he's still a third-round grade for me. I didn't give him a second-round grade. I can't get there on him. He's too old, to be honest with you. Let's go ahead and read the blurb. It says, I have to start this off by mentioning that he is an older prospect at 25 years old. I think he's a good athlete who does a good job changing directions. I didn't see elite athleticism on tape, so I question his ability to have upside in man coverage, but he ran better than I expected, so he may have more upside than I expected there. He seems to have really good feel in zone coverage, and he does a really good job watching the eyes of the quarterback and adjusting his zone. I think as a run defender, when he sees the play, he triggers well, and he will quickly fill his lane with some serious thud in his pads. The problems that I see on film are his eyes can be late to read the play, and he doesn't always take good angles to the ball. As far as his eyes, I think he can read slow and even read wrong at times, causing him false steps that put him out of position or a step behind and gives up extra yards. As far as his angles to the ball, I think he goes too horizontally, and that gives the ball carrier extra yards right away, and it allows offensive linemen to build up momentum, and then they get a hold of him and really wash him out of the play. Like, that's one of the things that really bugs me about a linebacker, when they don't take a good angle down to the ball, when they're reading and they're scraping across. Like, you don't scrape horizontally. You want to scrape angularly towards the ball so you're meeting him at the line of scrimmage. And he just goes horizontally, and that's something I didn't love. And one of the main reasons I think in the first game I did hit him so hard was that. And it was also the first game of the season at South Carolina, and he didn't play as much. You know, he got better as season went along, which is why I watched so many games on him. Either way, let's go ahead and move on to number 2 on our list, and it's going to be Carson Schlesinger, the linebacker out of UCLA. He came in far heavier than I ever would have expected. He's 6'2 and a half, 242 pounds. He's got a round 2 grade from me. He didn't really test at the combine. He had a 39.5-inch vertical. He had 31 5/8-inch arms and 20 bench press reps. Like, he just didn't do much, but a lot of that I think had to do with his weight. He added a ton of weight for the combine, the weigh in heavier, because he was tiny. He looked small on film playing linebacker. And I know he's relatively new to the position, and I think he has a ton of upside. I don't have his age, which is something that I don't know why I couldn't find it, but I never did find his age. But I really like Carson Schlesinger. I think he has a ton of upside. Let's go ahead and read the blurb on him. I think you'll be getting a very fast linebacker who seems to have a natural feel for the position. He to me looks like a plus coverage linebacker as soon as he enters the NFL. He has a very good feel in zone coverage, and he'll make plays on the ball. As a run defender, he triggers downhill quickly and seems to diagnose at a very high level. The biggest question I have is the level of strength at which he plays with. He will struggle to disengage from blockers once they get their hands on him, and if he fills a run lane, he'll struggle to hold his ground as well, especially when bigger blockers get a hold of him. He just simply doesn't play with a level of strength that you would hope from the linebacker position, but a lot of that I think was his weight. He played super light. He put on a ton for the combine, but don't let that 242 fool you. He needs to add functional play strength at the next level, but I think he's going to be an awesome coverage linebacker walking into the league. I forget how many picks he had, but I seen those on tape. I think it was 2 that I seen. I think he has a ton of upside, and I think coverage linebackers are really important in the league nowadays. And like, don't get me wrong, like Demetrius Knight's a little bit more of a run filler, which is good. You still need that in the NFL, but I think Schlesinger has the higher upside because of that coverage ability, and that's how he sneaks into round 2. Let's go ahead though and move on to number 1. We all know who it's going to be. It's Jahad Campbell, the linebacker out of Alabama. He can play a little bit of edge. I don't think you need to. I have him as a round 1 to 2 range, but honestly, I think he goes in round 1. He's number, I think, like 22 or 23 on my top 50 right now. He's 21 years old. He's 6'3", 235 pounds, 32.5-inch arms, 10.5-inch hands, 4.52 in the 40, 1.53 10-yard split, and a 10.7 broad jump. Athletically, dude is incredible. Now, I will say I gave him a bit of a boom bust grade because he's so raw, and I think his tape isn't as good as what you expect him to become. Let's just be honest with you. I expect more out of him in the NFL than what he did in college because, you know, he started out, he was an edge prospect when he entered college, and he ended up moving to the linebacker position. He's still getting his feel there, and he can give you some ability on the edge as well. Like, I think he's awesome. He's a versatile player. If you want, you can have 3 linemen out there, have him out there in like nickel situations, for example, where he can rush or drop, and he can only run 3. And he'd be good at either. Like, he's not a plus edge rusher or anything. He does have potential there. I think he can do enough as an edge to where when he's out there, they don't know if you're going to let him blitz and rush or whether you're going to drop him back in coverage. And he just gives you a lot of versatility at the linebacker position. To me, he looks like a raw prospect, which makes sense considering he recently moved to linebacker from edge in college. He looks like he has the makeup to become a Mike linebacker in the NFL. Right now, though, he seems to lack the natural instincts for the position, but can improve with more time at task, basically, is what that comes down to. He looks like he is very athletically gifted, and right now that's what he relies upon to make it to the ball and rack up tackles. He's a good tackler in open space, but at times his tackles a bit high, and that allows the ball carrier to knock him back and create extra yardage. He doesn't seem to want to take on blockers and shed through them right now, but that's mostly because I don't think he really needed to in college with his athleticism. Like, he was so fast and quick that he was able to just beat guys by going around him instead of having to fight his way through. In the NFL, that is a skill he's going to have to learn, but in college, man, he really wasn't worried about that. I think he has a ton of upside in pass coverage due to his athletic gifts and the fact that he already displays some natural instincts as well. I love Jahad Campbell. I wanted to put him higher, and I could move him up in the bucket. So, like, my final board comes out probably the week of the draft is how I'm looking at doing it. And when I grade everybody, I grade them based on tape. And then if I attach a boom bust label, and then I give them a final grade. Now, when I do that final grade, I go ahead and I do buckets. And basically how buckets work is, from a certain range to a certain range. Like, actually, I'll give you an example. So my grading scale is based on 10 down. So a 10 is like generational, perfect prospect. He'd be number one overall in any given class. You're not going to likely find anybody like that. But like 9.5 to 9.9 means you're a top 5, you're a consistent all-pro player. Either way, that's my board. It goes from 10 down. So to me, my buckets are like tier 1 players are 9.2 and up. Tier 2 players, which are basically the first one's like top 10 players. The second one is 8.25 to 9.9 or 9.19. And that right there is basically your guaranteed first rounders. Those are the guys that I give a first round grade. They're in their own bucket. And then the next tier is 7.7 to 8.25, and that's a bucket. And they'd be like your consistent all pro or consistent like Pro Bowls impact players. Either way, the point I'm making here is within a bucket, I can move guys up and down based on how I feel when I watch the film. And he's a guy that is I think he might go up within his bucket just because I think he has so much upside in his game. And I will admit, he's a raw prospect. I don't think he's as raw as some of the edge guys like a Jalen Walker, but I do think that he's still learning how to play the position. And I mean, that's a long-winded way to get there, but I really like Jahad Campbell, and I think anybody that gets him, like, he's a first round guy to me, even though it says round 1 to 2. That's more based upon like his grade area, but I think he's incredible. Like, I really don't see why Jahad Campbell wouldn't go in the first round. I did hear he has a shoulder issue, which that could be a real question for a linebacker. You have to be honest about that. As long as that checks out, he's a beast, man. He should go in the first round, no problem. But he's got, like I said, round 1 to 2 grade. Either way, some of the other guys I looked at, of course, I watched Danny Stutzman, I watched Barrett Carter, I watched Jack Kaiser, I watched Kobe King, and I watched Jay Higgins. I think that's all 5 I watched. Yeah, I still have Cody Simon and Cody Lindenberg to watch that I was going to try to get to, but I didn't get to them in time. So, like I said, we're doing a top 5 here. I think Stutzman, he's somebody that I like, Danny Stutzman, but to me, I don't think he played like he tested. Like, at times he looked a tick slow, and maybe that's just me. Like, I think he has natural instincts, but he doesn't play with the same play speed as what he tested at, in my opinion, which is something that I will admit means I need to go back and recheck prior to the draft, which is one of them things that I will get to. But I think there's a little bit of a gap there between him and Chris Paul, and I don't see him making up the ground to pass him. But either way, he's a really fun prospect. Barrett Carter's more of like a will linebacker. He's just going to be a backside guy. He's short. He's lighter. I think he's going to be a coverage guy, and he could have a long career in the NFL. I kind of wanted him to take the next step in college, and I kept thinking that he could. He just never did. So I was kind of hoping more out of him. Jay Higgins, great prospect, just not fast, not athletically gifted enough to make an impact in the NFL. Doesn't mean he can't make a career for himself. He just can't take that high. And that's really disappointing. Either way, I want to thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Have a great day. I'll catch you in the next one, which will probably be my cornerback rankings. Or if we get too close to the draft here, as we're getting time's counting down on me and we start running out of time, I might do like a top 15 and include corners and safeties in that group. I don't know. My goal, though, is to be able to split them videos up. I want to thank you for watching, though. Please like and subscribe. Have a great day. Sorry for my dogs in the background. I'll catch you in the next one. I'm out.